as it finishes Barcelona 3, PSG 2. For more on this, so look at this cast of characters who join us. Luis Garcia, Aage, Fjortoft. But we've got to start with the man who's at the game, who's at the press centre in Paris. Jules, when you came back to 2-1, I thought for once, Jules is going to be on the show and we'd have something positive to say about PSG.
Yeah, but no, not tonight again. I think I must be the jinx because the first half was not good enough. We can talk about Luis Enrique's initial plan with Asensio as a false number 9, with Marquinhos at right back, for example, and clearly that was the wrong tactics. And Xavi outsmarted him in that first half. The way they played long on Lewandowski, who was brilliant at holding up the ball and then having players feeding off him, really like Rafinha, as we saw. The second half was better for 15 minutes, but then again, what Xavi did with Pedri, with Christensen, even switching Rafinha from the left wing to the right wing, were great. So not a good night for PSG, not a good night for Luis Enrique.
No, once again, not a good night for PSG in the Champions League, but once again...
Yeah, but not a disaster.
But no, I was going to say, once again, it was a great game for us as a neutral.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how both these teams played and you just think this second leg's going to be great. Every one of these quarterfinals. If the second leg is anything like the first leg, it's going to be fantastic entertainment. A bit like last night, I don't think it's great entertainment for the coaches because they're seeing so many mistakes and bad decisions, and there have been some moments of brilliance. We saw Foden last night. We saw Valverde. We've seen Rafinha there. So many youngsters in show for PSG as well. I suppose for Barca, but a lot of their youngsters have been injured this season. Pedri, who come on, Gavi's been out, but Lamine Yamal. And Kubasi, I mean, honestly, it's just incredible. I mean, he's up against, Mbappe and Dembele and players like that. He's 16, playing in the quarter-final of the Champions League alongside Ronald Araujo, and he's putting in performances like that. It's in Barca's hands. Yeah. It's quite simple. And PSG need to be better than they were tonight, particularly defensively, and doing the basics. The run from Rafinha there, the marking from set pieces. There's lots of little things, and he took Asensio off at half time. He brings Barcola on, who played a little bit more on the right hand side, and it worked for them very, very early. But then, as Joe said, once Xavi realised it was getting away from him a little bit, then he looked to the bench. Pedri, Christensen, who's played in the middle of the park, and they looked a lot more solid in there. So really, really good game. And Mbappe, relatively quiet. It's going to be a big game at the Montjuic for him. Mm-hmm. All these youngsters will be looking at him and say, listen, we're up against it here. We need a big performance from you. He wasn't bad tonight, but if we're talking about PSG, he was not their main man tonight.
Kubasi's turned 17 now.
Is he 17?
He's an old man. Yeah, an old man these days. Speaking of old men. Luis, looking at this, who would have thought after that debacle against Villarreal would be sitting in a situation where Barcelona would be favourites to go through to the semi-finals of the Champions League, and in some quarters people want Xavi to stay?
We've been hearing about Xavi to stay for quite a long time. He's been just sending the same message. No, the decision is made, and I want to be focused on doing a good in Champions League in La Liga until the end of the season. And today, finally, we saw a very mature Barcelona that handpicked 3 of the most important players, or at least 2 of them for Paris Saint-Germain, Dembele and Mbappe. They were very quiet, not because they didn't do a good well. I totally agree with Gray, because Barcelona defender did such a great job doubling up on the wide areas. Koundé in one side with Araujo, and the other side Garcia and Cancelo. They were all ready to make marks, to covering one to each other, to double up in the wide areas, to try to tie them up and not let them to turn around or face you. That is when they are very, very dangerous in the end. The last one, it was Vitinha, who did once again an amazing job, one of the best midfielders in Europe at the moment, because his ability to control and dominate the whole game, the tempo of the match, and in the end, I think he did a fantastic job. But it's true that I was expecting a little bit more from Paris Saint-Germain, more aggressiveness going forward, and for Barcelona, did very, very well. Sober in the last, never lost the composure. Using the wide areas and that long ball that I think that today was clear, because Paris Saint-Germain was going to put a lot of pressure on Barcelona. And the key man today for me was Lewandowski, that we've been talking a lot about him not keeping the ball when this Barcelona needed, not holding it or laying off in the right position. And today I think he was brilliant. Every single time he was on the ball, allowing the wide players to run into the space and him arriving in second line. So we have to give credit also to Lewandowski that finally we saw a good performance from him, even though that he didn't score.
Jan, from one striker to another, do you agree with those compliments?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just thinking we saw a great game. We've said it, all of us. But, I mean, 5 goals. And Lewandowski didn't score, and Mbappé didn't score. I mean, that would be a surprise before the game. But I agree. Lewandowski, in terms of the way he held up the ball, that is Lewandowski that he had, especially when he played with Bayern. He scored a lot of goals, but he was very good at keeping the ball up, and that was asked of him today. But we are fortunate that we have a profession that we can use our football knowledge, but we are still first and foremost football lovers. And I must say, Pedri to Rafinha, and that technique that he used to make that goal, that made my evening today. And it's also, I just want to add, when Jules talked a bit about Xavi against Enrique, it's like it's been all this quarterfinal. It's been coaches against coaches. We had Ancelotti against Pep yesterday, or Arteta against Tuchel. And today, I must say that Xavi won that game. I'm not saying he wanted more than 3-2, but there was advantage, Mr. Xavi. And don't we all think he will stay, Luis? I can't believe that you...
We're not going to do that debate now. We're not doing that debate. Give us another thumbs up. Give us another thumbs up, though, Jan. I like that.
Where did that come from?
There you go. Ready?
Yeah,
Come on.
came up.
Hey!
I'm glad it's just a thumbs up. Don't do it. Don't make any more signs. But I tell you, if you're PSG, you think, right, how do I get my best player, Kylian Mbappe, how do I unleash him in the second leg? And I have to look to pinpoint, if I'm Luis Enrique, the weakest area of the Barcelona team. And although Jules Koundé has not had his best season by a long stretch, that right-hand side of the Barcelona defence is certainly stronger than the left. I mean, Garcia, as we mentioned, the youngster, has done terrific. But if you add him in with João Cancelo at left back, if he plays there in the second leg, that is the weakest point of their team. And I want somehow to get my strongest players up against their weakest element. And that's where I think they could potentially expose Barcelona. Because, Barcelona won't look to sit in, I wouldn't imagine. I mean, they might play a little deeper, but I wouldn't imagine they'd look to sit in and take what they've got. They want to try and kill this tie off. And that's an area for me that Luis Enrique could exploit and can exploit better than they did tonight. Because we've seen how weak, at times, that side of the defence has been this season.
How would you assess Mbappe's performance today, Jules?
Very disappointing, Dan. And there was a lot of people here who felt again that, he relied a lot on him, that for PSG to go through, they needed him to be at his best. He had 3 shots tonight, 0 on target, only 1 successful dribble out of 5, won 3 duels out of 12, and lost the ball, I think, 13 or 14 times. It was just not good. And I think, like the boys said, Barcelona defended really well on him, but I also thought that he made the wrong decision too many times, either the extra touch or the wrong pass, shooting where maybe he shouldn't have, and he felt a bit isolated as well and not really connected to the rest of the team. I don't think the tactics in the first half helped him. And in the second half, Barcola was better, and Dembele was better as well, and there was just not much for him really in the game. So disappointing, because so far he's carried this team in the Champions League, and now they can only do this with him in the second leg. If he has another night like tonight, they won't be able to turn the tie around. So they need him much better, in better position. That's one of the answers that Luis Enrique would have to find between now and Tuesday night.
Xavi says that PSG remain favourites, Jules, going into the second leg. Do you agree?
I'm not having his mind games, like those Catalan mind games, they're not for me.
So divide this up, mate, percentage chances.
I don't know, Luis Enrique said this is going to be like a final, and, we have to focus already, forget the things that, forget tonight, basically. We'll have to improve on certain things, and please, Luis, get the right tactics this time. Maybe like a final. I still think he's quite nicely poised, really, and Barca have to be favourite. They're home at Montjuic, and they have a 1-goal advantage. So I would go 55-45 Barcelona.
55-45. Jan Fjortoft.
60-40 Barcelona. I think that they will take it at home, but I don't think this game is gone. I think that PSG, they have the quality. They showed as well times today that they have the quality in there. But of course, you can't defend like that, and Donnarumma can't be insecure when he's missing one and he don't come for the next one in the second half. So I still think it's for Barcelona to lose.
Montjuic, of course, not the Camp Nou, Luis. That might play a factor. How do you have this?
Of course, it's not a fact, but I agree with the guys that it's a final. But you don't start a final with a 1-0 result in your score. You have to start a final with a 0-0. So it's a totally different situation. Of course, it's a final for Paris Saint-Germain, but they need to go for the result. They need to go for the goal. And when you open up a little bit, you know what happened. I think the Barcelona right now is doing great in transition, is doing very good in counter-attack, and with those second balls with a fantastic keeper who can put you an assist from his own box. So I think that right now, even though the Xavi is trying to play those Catalan mind games, I think the Barcelona is a favourite to go through by a little bit more than 45-55. I will go for a 70-30 even so.
Of course you will, former Barcelona player.
The old Catalan mind game.
Oh, you know what it's like.
60-40 Barcelona,
Okay.
depending on Mr. Mbappe. If he turns up, might be a bit closer. If they keep him quiet like they did tonight, it's going to be Barca.